Hello, everyone. Welcome to I just checked back, our third developer live stream, back with our CEO, Stephen Kenway. A little bit of a different show this time. We have some questions that have been submitted, commonly asked questions too, that we get kind of often, that we're going to kind of get Steve to run through. We'll try to get through all of them. I'm not sure length of answers. We also might have some live comments and questions, so we'll try to get through as much as we can here, obviously in the time frame we have. As always, post your comments in the LinkedIn chat, or you can always send them to us after. That's what some of these are. So we will go through them. Steve, how was the holiday season for you?
It's good. Well, I'm looking on my screen now. I'm like, my effort to clean my office didn't go very well.
It looks, I mean, I don't really have one, so I just have some sticks in the background to make it look like I can play sports.
It looks intentional.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, well, let's get into it. First question we got here is kind of a big one. This might actually be probably a longer one for you, but what is the process for migrating from an existing data provider to data feeds?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question, especially for those that already have an existing product. We kind of hear that all the time. And one of the benefits of coming to us is often, price, support. So if you're using a cheaper, less expensive kind of, rapid API type solution, and you're worried about, as your company grows, building your business on it, you might want to move to us. If you're using a more expensive, a Radar, a sportsdata.io, caught up there, I think it slowed down a little bit on the camera side. But if you use a more expensive one, then you might be looking for some cost savings or, different data points that we have. Different packaging. And so that process can be a little bit limiting because you're going to need a developer to go in and make that change for you. So there's two elements to it. Maybe I'll say there's three elements to it. The first one is it kind of depends on how your app or whatever you're using the data for was originally constructed. And if you have a data layer in your code base, if you architected your solution so you've got a data layer. If you have, then it's a lot easier. Then all you have to do is do the mapping and then write the, kind of change the connection points. Maybe there's a little bit of code change to kind of ingest things, maybe normalize things to whatever your schema looks like inside of your app. If your data is kind of just integrated into the way that everything operates, it can be a little bit more of a process. And what we would recommend is moving to that architecture I just described, of having a data layer that ingests the data, and then that connects with all the components of your application that require the data. And so you would go and you would build that, connect with us, and then you would rip out all that other stuff afterwards and then connect it with your data layer. So it can be a little bit of a process. We try to help as much as possible, especially on the mapping side of things. And one of the things that we're working on in the background right now, fortunately, the National Research Council of Canada provided us with a little bit of funding to work on it as well, is using a GPT and LLM and kind of an agentic model to help with that process. So someone can come to us and say, hey, here's my schema. And actually, they probably wouldn't even come to us. They would go into API Locker and kind of, work with the migration assistant and provide it with the schemas, et cetera. It'll do all the mapping for you. And then it's going to provide you with some code samples. It's never 100%. You still require a developer to go in and kind of smooth out those parts that the code assistant can't help with. But that's hopefully going to make this process a lot easier. And hopefully, that transition isn't a whole bunch of developer time. It's, we can do the heavy lifting for you, and then your developer just has to stitch it in. So that's the future. We're expecting that in 4 or 5 months.
Okay. Yeah. And I was going to say on the sales side, for sure, we say it all the time. I mean, it's kind of one of our mantras, but we are for developers. But we also have, I mean, not myself, definitely not, but most of our team, I mean, we have a lot of technical background. We can help with a lot of this too. That's why we always, we point people to the Discord to ask questions. We're there to help for that as well. It's not just, we're not just leaving you on your own in that. So, okay, awesome. That's good. This one kind of ties right into it then. This was, do we need software developers or can AI coding agents just do it? So piggybacking basically off of what you were explaining there, but.
Yeah, it's funny that we got that question. I was actually talking to someone yesterday about that specifically as well. And they were kind of saying, well, is a computer science degree even valuable anymore? And, the short answer is absolutely. The longer answer is it's a little bit that industry and the way that people work, how we build is changing. And so, if you're a non-technical founder, you can get your product to a proof of concept. You can get it really quite far without having to really have written a lot of code, and just using natural language through a platform like Cursor, Huggable. Like there's a bunch of them that are out there that are really kind of AI first software development. We use some of our even non-technical members of the company are using those and building technical solutions. Now, when you get to that last 20%, the part that is truly complex, truly makes a product unique or a website unique, that's where it's good to have technical help and expertise. That's where it's good to have experience with architecture and kind of understanding the landscape of things, so that you're making smart decisions for the future where, the LLMs just aren't really quite there yet in terms of that. It's interesting. Colleague I worked with previously in a consulting project is actually building an agentic kind of coding, architecture, and design product where you can feed those questions in, and you'll have an agent that's knowledgeable about Azure and all of its services, and then it can talk to the database architect, which is an agent, etc. So it's moving in that direction. But I still think that the computer science degree is really valuable for that last 10%, that really hard part, the part to, even when you have something that gives you the answer, to go, does that smell right?
Yeah,
or is that like maybe a little bit off, or is it hallucinating? And the real interesting thing that we see on our side, because we are so forward thinking in terms of the how we build, is it's just purely the amount of output that we can produce now as software developers is dramatically, more productive than it was previously. It can take a junior developer and turn them into an intermediate developer significantly faster. It can take a kind of, a 1 to 2x developer and turn them into a 10x developer, maybe not 10x, but and that's the gold standard in tech. Like, you really want to find as many 10x developers as you can.
What does that mean?
10 times. So the concept behind it is that you can solve a problem with 10% of 10% less code, and you can produce it 10 times faster than the average software developer. And so, I think there's a perfect example of this is, I can't remember who the author was, but there's a product called Tor, which was used to like mask your internet traffic. And it's something crazy like 1,000 lines of code. And it's used by like the CIA to mask their presence when they're in the dark web, like following people and analyzing their, but it's crazy. This guy's such a genius that he was able to write something of that level of complexity with 1,000 lines of code.
It's insane. We're gonna get a whole new group of people coming in now. Since you mentioned the CIA, we're gonna have people searching for it and be like, I don't think this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, don't fact check me on that example. I try not to use things I'm not 100% sure about, but that's the one that came to mind.
Fair enough. Okay, this is more, switching away from really focused developer process kind of stuff, but as a whole, what are the latest sports that we have available now?
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a great one as well. So the most recent, I guess, sport we've added is Euro Soccer. and that includes 3 leagues, so La Liga, Serie A, and EPL. It's been a really interesting. That's kind of the first time that we've had, maybe not exactly. Well, it's kind of the closest thing to having one sport with multiple leagues. And so I could see in the future as Euro soccer grows for us that we'll probably have more Bundesliga and all over Europe, South America, etc. But we started there, the kind of 3 most popular, the 3 biggest. So they're recently online and available for trials as well in API Locker. We added PGA not that long ago. I think that was last year was our first full season of PGA, or half season. Maybe we released it halfway through. And so that's going really, really well. And as a PGA fan, that's another one that I really like watching the feed of data as like the holes are coming in. I find that very interesting. And then obviously we don't have it in SportWise yet, but now we've got all the statistical information. So if you're a sharp out there or you're building some sort of modeling, I think PGA is a really interesting sport for that. And there's not as much going on in that world.
Yeah.
And then maybe this is a little bit older. Darts is probably our hottest sport right now. The rise of just the sport itself, and Luke Littler and Stephen Bunting's walk on, and like all the things that you see on Instagram and YouTube. So we've had that one for a couple of years. It was a really complex build. I think I've mentioned this previously. Like it's just an extremely fast-paced sport, and like Pat McAfee was talking about it on Monday on his show, highlighting the World Championships that completed on Saturday, and Luke Littler, 18 years old, maybe he's 19 now, won for the 2nd time in a row. And the sport it's like WWF wrestling with darts.
Yeah,
there's like so much drama.
But real. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This
not
year,
fabricated.
I think Cameron Menzies beat up a table and his hand was bleeding in the middle of the match. Like
his throwing hand or his non-throwing hand?
I think it might have been his throwing hand.
Oof.
I think they had to
Risky play.
stop, and then he had to get medical attention.
Oh my goodness.
To continue on. I didn't watch the full match. This is in the earlier rounds. But anyways, if you like data,
very cool.
Darts is cool.
Yeah.
If you like sports, you're gonna love darts, and you got to look up
100%.
Stephen Bunting's walk on to Titanium, David Guetta. It's unreal, especially at Ali Pali WDC, because they have the dancers and they're like everyone's in costumes. It's nuts.
It's next level. Yeah, we have. So I will say this: we do get questions about PGA whenever I bring it up. Whenever people ask what sports you guys cover, I just don't know. Like, I think a lot of people are wondering how it's going to grow into like a fantasy sport or grow into kind of the next phase. Obviously, PGA is growing, and with other leagues like the TGL, stuff like that. But I think there's a lot of really cool stuff that could come out of PGA. I wouldn't say it's not like blowing up yet. Golf is blowing up, but the PGA is definitely it's on its way. And I think there's going to be a lot of really cool stuff that's coming out of it. We're going to see a really big boom, similar to darts, obviously, where it's worldwide. And I think PGA's got a lot of room for that.
I completely agree. And the other thing, so I've had a ton of conversations, and I commented this on the Betting Startup podcast. The next growth in the industry in sports betting, maybe not the whole kind of sports data tech industry, sports betting in particular, and maybe fantasy sports to a degree, free-to-play games and competition games, is in-game betting, in-game play. And, football, hockey, basketball, baseball, synchronizing what's happening in real life to what's happening digitally is extremely complicated. Even just watch a game today. I'm in a group chat with all my friends on the Flames. And I'm like, hey, did you see that goal? And my buddy's like, what goal? Yeah, we're watching the same TV feed on TVs. And so synchronizing this all up is going to be really, really complicated. And the sports, I believe, that are going to work the best are going to have distinct longer intervals before the next event has occurred. So football, could work. You've got 45 seconds. Basketball, I think, is going to be really, really tough because it can be fast. Hockey might work, but it's so variable. Like you could have a goal 10 seconds later, and someone could be in the arena placing a bet, and it takes 10 seconds for the data to get outside of the building and onto platforms, and for handles to change, books and all that jazz. So, but I think PGA is one of those ones where you can't play a hole in a minute.
Yeah, very true.
So you're going to have an opportunity to, set the event, get all your kind of picks in, lock it safely until the next one. Maybe I'm probably pulling a little bit of a rabbit out of my hat, but like we've had companies come to us and they say, how fast is the data? We have people sitting in arenas watching and then placing bets because they're trying to beat the lines at the sport books, et cetera. And they're trying to automate that to see if we're fast enough. And, we are medium latency, and we're not, real time. You have to go to the officials, but they're beating the officials because it still takes time for the official providers to get it out to the endpoints and then onto the platform. So I think eventually people will figure out that
make your money back on your ticket.
Yeah.
Golf is that sport. I mean, you have, some events you have some super slow play, but most of the time you probably have 2 to 3 minutes between, maybe even closer to 5 minutes between each shot, depending on where they are, especially from off the tee. You got some time with the walk down. So there's a lot of space there in PGA. And I do think this year, especially as we look into 2026, I think it'll be a big growth year for PGA, which is super exciting. That's a lot. As both of us being golfers and golf fans, that's really exciting to see, because golf was on a little bit of a downward trend there for a little bit.
Yeah. It'll also be interesting to see, we don't have live data yet, but we've had requests for it.
We have,
It'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. We've been kind of reluctant to collect it as part of this effort to see what's going to happen. But, if it does survive, then we'll probably collect it.
We have gotten that question more so out of curiosity than people actually wanting to invest in it. But interesting to see. I think everybody's kind of hesitant right now on what's going to happen there with some guys leaving and all that. But it'll be an interesting year. This person says, I need advanced data points. How do I get them if you don't have them as part of a core endpoint?
Gotcha. Okay, that's a really good question. So there's probably two solutions to that. So number one is we have a product roadmap. It's externally facing. You can go and submit it on the roadmap. Danny's on maternity leave. She was managing it previously, so it's falling on my shoulders. So I apologize if there's like updates that aren't going in or you're not seeing your submissions. It's probably just me not having a chance to get to him yet. But the goal there is to submit all these data points and try to get as much of the community to kind of vote on it and help us prioritize what's important. So if there's something that's truly standard, advancing but standard, like we can go out and we can collect it, we can add it to kind of the overall stat package. If there's something that's truly unique to your particular sport, or we don't have it right now, but it might be something that you can calculate. We do have the play-by-play feeds for NFL and MLB. So you could go and interpret the data from those feeds. So I think in those feeds, for example, like air yards is one that we get all the time in NFL. It's funny because I remember we went to the first FSGA conference like 3 years ago, and they were talking about air yards, and I was like, don't even know what they're talking about. So, it is changing all the time, but you can calculate air yards, if I remember correctly, through the play-by-play feed, because it will have the, caught it after 10 yards, and then Jerry Judy ran for, 5 more. And so you can kind of go in and build your own processing off the play-by-play. Play-by-play happens on an interval. So I can't remember exactly what it is for MLB, but when possession changes, with NFL, in MLB, when possession changes, so middle of every inning, bottom, top of every inning, we collect all that data. So you can get it in, near real time if you need it. It's definitely available post game.
Yeah. The other one that we had, or I had a question on, was shooting percentage in hockey, which once again can be tallied from shots and goals.
Yeah.
The data can be kind of figured out, but we don't technically have shooting percentage, but shooting percentage can be had similar to
derive it.
Multiple. Yeah, exactly. There's a few of those for sure.
And we'll have and NBA is up next for play-by-play, and then NHL. And then we've had a lot of, I truthfully didn't think that we would build out play-by-play and some of these kind of supporting feeds for college sports, but there's been so much activity on college football and basketball. Basketball, this is kind of the first season, maybe second season, that we've done the full regular season with all the expanded conferences, etc. It's chaos. There's so many games being played, but and so many players and stuff going on. But I could see us eventually having play-by-play for college sports as well.
College, I mean, it's chaos for anybody who's running any sort of college game or website. The amount of times that I hear that, it's crazy. It's like, I don't even know what's going on. The data obviously will help, but
maybe one other quick random hot take I'll share is here's my prediction. I think now that they've unlocked kind of the economics behind college sports and just the way that people relate to them, you go to a school, males, females, and kind of the full spectrum of students have an association with those schools. And not everyone has an association with their local NFL team or their local hockey team. They don't really care, but everyone has that kind of camaraderie with their school. And I just think that college sports is going to have could be bigger than the NFL, or at least could climb into number 2, just because the demographic that they appeal to is so beyond just a love of sports. It's playing on that kind of relationship with the school itself. And I saw that first,
of being there.
Yeah, and you school spirit, and you would go to the games even if you don't care about So I'll give you an example. I was in New Orleans, this is years ago, Matt Stafford's year when he was at Georgia, and he was actually, they were facing off against Colt Brennan in Hawaii in the Fiesta Bowl, and actually Colt's family was staying in the same hotel, so we'd see them in the lobby every day. And it was crazy, all these grown men walking around in Georgia Bulldog pants with little bulldogs on there. I was like, this is an absurd. I've never seen anyone support their NFL team walking around, not at the game, out for dinner in your Georgia Bulldog pants. And some of the listeners in the South who go to so many schools are like, this is normal. What are you talking about?
Yeah, they're not questioning this at all. They're right there with you.
But that's
the level right now.
That's the level of relationship I think people have with their schools. And so we're going to see, and I'm sure you're seeing on the sales side, quite a bit of growth on what's happening in college sports.
Yeah. I always think it's true because not often, it's not always, you don't always cheer for the pro team that's in your area. There's a lot of times where you cheer for a pro team that you saw once as a kid and you just liked them so much, or you had a moment that you liked them. Colleges, it's a sin if you cheer for an out of a different team in your area, it's war if that happens. So there is a different kind of emotional pull to the schools that are in the area. So yeah, definitely could see that as well. Last one here. We have a few minutes left. This one, I mean, we kind of already went into it, but you can dive into a little bit deeper. But how does the play-by-play feed work?
So that's a great question. I think I kind of already mentioned it's on an interval. Really what we're trying to do is collect the raw events and then pull out some of the metadata so you can do some sorting and searching on it. So let me see if I can just pull it up really quickly. Do I have... Yeah, we've got about 5 minutes left. So how about I do this? I'll share my screen and then we'll... do it together. Okay, this might not work. I'm using ChatGPT Atlas now as my browser.
Nice.
And I have not.
Doesn't have the same.
I don't have the security set up for it yet,
Yeah.
so I'll just describe it. So if you go into the documentation for NFL and MLB, it's currently available to anyone who's on the live package or tier of access. And the documentation there, it's really quite simple. You hit the play-by-play endpoint and you give it a game ID, and then it will return back all the events from that game. And the events themselves, like I said, are kind of just like structured as like a description of what happened. And then we mine out some of those key details, time of game, like possession on the field or position on the field, possession, third down, 10, in 10, and like some of that information. We try to also mine out the players involved in the play so that you can kind of go and search and find, hey, here's all the passing attempts from Shea or Sanders. And so it can be really quite powerful if you're, doing something where you're telling a story about the game in real time. It can be really quite powerful if there's advanced statistics that you need from it. One of the things that I was thinking about, I haven't played with it yet, but I want to feed one of the feeds into ChatGPT and say, tell me a story about this game. Because now it not only understands the box score and all that information, et cetera, but it also understands exactly the timeline and the things that happen throughout the game. Because sometimes the box score can't tell you about the big play, like the big moment, but the play-by-play can.
Let it pick the TSN turning point.
Yeah, exactly.
That maybe you can't decide on, or the MVP that's the undercover MVP that we didn't know. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, and then we're gonna get so we've got one company that they do they've created like AI characters, and then they provide the news and picks, etc., through these AI characters, and it's all automated and the scripts are generated. It's a really cool product. AI Tony, check it out.
Yeah, there you go. Shout out.
And I was like, well, AI Tony could like create a video of the game, like sports highlights based on the play-by-play.
Definitely.
Probably wouldn't perfectly reflect what actually happened in real life, but you have a visual representation of it.
It's worth a try, at least. At the very least, it's worth an attempt to see what we can get out of it. We'll talk to him. Okay, well, there's probably a couple other questions, but we're up against it. We'll answer more next time, obviously. We'll be back in a couple weeks again. Steve, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, next one, I don't really have anything planned yet, or we don't have anything planned yet, but I'm thinking that we might try to bring some other folks on too.
For sure.
So it's just not my face for radio on each week, every couple of weeks. We'll bring some different perspectives. It's a classic one.
It's always good. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of, not only on our team but elsewhere too, that are using us that can have a lot of input into what we do as well. So that'll do it for today. Thanks for joining us, guys. As always, you can reach out to us on LinkedIn, reach out to us on the website, contact us. Stephen and I are always here, as well as Josh, other members of the team. Comments are always welcome. Hit us with what you guys need, and we will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks for hosting. Bye, everybody.
See you guys.